Hi everyone, hope you're keeping safe. Thanks for joining us this week. This week I'll be talking with Jose Pedro Novais, who is a software developer. We'll be running through some questions about the JVM space, more about languages. He's going to give a few tips to junior developers who are just starting out as well. So Jose, for those who don't know who you are, could you give everyone a bit of background about your experience and where you've worked?
Hi, hello. I'm a software engineer with about 10 years experience now. I started myself as a backend developer with Java Enterprise and a little bit of Python as well. And then I moved to Paddy Power Betfair, where I became a Node.js developer in backend spectrum as well. And then I did a little bit of full stack JavaScript development. And then I moved back to the Java backend development, which I think is where I see myself in the future as well. Then I did a little bit of Scala development, Morgan Stanley as well. And now I was engaged at Springer Nature and I'm doing Kotlin development.
Okay, cool. And just more about your current tech stack. What sort of tech stack and frameworks are you currently working with?
So at the moment, I'm using Kotlin in backend development. We are working with HTTP4K, which is a lightweight library for HTTP or web development of applications. And I use a little bit of JavaScript for some end-to-end tests in the browser and Nginx, basically. That's it.
Okay, cool.
I don't have concrete databases at the moment, for instance.
Sure.
And we use Docker and Cloud Foundry. I miss those ones.
Okay, cool. Nice. Just in terms of languages, what's your sort of favorite language to use and why?
Favorite languages? Well, that's a tricky question because there is not one size fits all. I would consider myself more proficient into ecosystems. Which one is the JVM? I would prefer for the JVM Kotlin.
Okay.
Because it supports object-oriented programming and functional programming as well. We can see loads of inspirations from other languages like JavaScript, Scala, and so on. Although I would prefer if they were having a step further towards functional programming. It has interoperability with Java both ways, whereas Scala is a bit more trickier. So we can take benefit or leverage everything that is done already in Java, all the libraries and all the ecosystem as well. It has a strong and solid community and support. And yeah, since I became in touch with HTTP4K, I think I prefer it over Springer because it's easier to test and it's simpler. And I think those are the main reasons. The performance is not less, I would say as well. But I also use, for instance, Node.js and JavaScript for projects where they are more API based and data back and forwards, where I don't need much CPU or something, and they are smaller and simpler projects. And I like to use, for instance, Apache Kafka when I need to do streaming or message queues. And I use Nginx as well for serving static assets, API gateways, or load balancing. And regarding databases, I use more often either MySQL or Postgres for relational data, or when I know the scheme and so on, right ahead, or MongoDB for document database. I've never used graph databases so far. I use Docker quite a lot, even though if the project or something they don't use Docker, I use Docker for my local development to spin up databases or other technology that I need. I think it's easier, makes things way smoother. And yeah, I tend to use Linux-based systems, either for development or for deployment. And I think that basically covers it.
Covers the whole tech stack, yeah. What I was quite keen to speak about, because a lot of people do ask it in the community, is there any websites that you check on daily or any social media pages that you read to keep up to date with the latest trends and tools, or is it all sort of learning the job as such?
Okay, I have like 2 or 3 sites or web pages which are my go-tos. Actually, I subscribe to the newsletters, which is like InfoQ. Okay. It's quite strong, especially on the Java and backend development. Now they are expanding to the JavaScript community as well, and some front-end as well. And their conferences are amazing as well. Gzone, and I follow the ThoughtWorks Tech Radar as well. Then I follow highscalability.com as well.
Okay.
And then when there is a new Java release, I check like the official documentation to check what brings new, not exhaustively, however. And more recently, in the past few years, I've been also relying a lot on YouTube, and I follow like tech conferences. I've watched their talks, the ones that interest me on YouTube as well, especially, for instance, conferences like GoTo. They have like really nice talks. Was just to mention one.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Obviously, your experience yourself, like I said, you got sort of 10 plus years in software development. What top 3 tips would you give to people sort of starting out in development, maybe 1 or 2 years commercial experience to help sort of enhance their career?
Okay. I don't like to quantify things like that way, top 3 or something, but yes, I can give a few tips. One of the things that I value first, and even my friends as a senior developer, they say as well, is like when we are interviewing people, and most companies do as well, is like the things that we seek to validate first is the fundamentals, software fundamentals. We seek to validate those before technology. So I would say to learn the fundamentals first and get them right, like object-oriented design patterns, solid principles, data structures and algorithms. They are very fundamental. I would recommend a really good book on those, like Cracking the Code Interview. The way the book is written is more like a school of thought to reason about problems and choose the right algorithms and data structures. You don't need to learn perhaps the most complicated ones. You won't use them daily, but most basic ones, get them right. The protocols, especially people on the back end, they should know like the HTTP protocol very well, TCP, UDP, DNS, those basic ones. When people is learning a new technology or a new language, try to understand why the creators create that language and that technology, what problems they were seeking to solve, because that will help them to make the right choice for the technology as well. And then more in the, now precisely in the JVM spectrum, I would say like some people, even a few years down the road, they miss to get right for instance, they break the equals and dash code contract, which is a very basic one. Even though if you are focusing more on Kotlin or Scala, you will need to get some Java fundamentals, because those are based on top of Java or any other JVM language. Learn like the Java concurrency and multi-threading, how it works. The JVM main building blocks, memory management, garbage collecting, the memory model, the just-in-time compiler, and so on. And then, like, if you want to get like really on performance and so on, like learn how to profile your application. Well, it will be also necessary to catch memory leaks most of the times as well. Oh, I forgot one thing that some juniors neglect, is quite a trend, which is like testing your code. Learn how to test your code well. It's really, really fundamental thing. How to do good unit testing, test-driven development, even Google for inside-out design. And yeah, I'll say perhaps those are the main tips.
Yeah, perfect. That's really useful. we'll wrap it up. I mean, I don't want to speak about COVID too much. Has your day-to-day routine changed a lot, or is it just business as usual, or in terms of like the routine of your day?
I would say it didn't change a lot, to be honest. The only difference is like you don't see the faces face to face in the office, but the work keeps on going as usual. The sporadic conversations that would happen, discussions in the office next to each other, they happen now online. And I would say that's the main difference. Otherwise, everything keeps going as usual. So yeah, I think even the team becomes more productive because there are less distraction in the office. And not in the morning, but in the afternoon. Sometimes I kept on working late because there is not like that momentum that everyone lifts the chair, goes home, and tend to go home as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Especially when the sun's out as well, you sort of think, oh God. But it's the same with us. As well. You close your laptop, finish on the time you're supposed to, but it's so easy to open back up. That's perfect. Well, thanks for your time, Jose. That's really appreciated, and we'll get this out to everyone now. Perfect. Take care, mate.
Bye-bye.